Welcome back, Pokemon trainers, Pokemon masters. All you ready to battle it out? And welcome back to the King's Court. So, if you saw our 100 subscriber special, then you noticed that we played Pokemon during there. Also, once again, thank you for subscribing. And I was playing Miraidon EX. So I figured I would do a deck profile on the deck. Before we get into it, of course, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and of course, follow our social media pages, which will be linked below in the description box. I guess question of the day is, how do you feel about the new set for Obsidian Flames? Which sounds so edgy. It makes you go out of the edge, but you know. What do you guys think? Are you excited for the set? Are you going to be playing anything from the set? Or are you going to be still playing the tried and true? And are you also hyped for Worlds? Worlds looks like it's going to be pretty good this year. Alright, anyway. So this build is based off, yes, it is based off Seijun Park's build for those of you who are going to notice it. But honestly, that's fine. You know, everyone who takes a deck list will usually take what they see and then add and change for either their local meta or for their trip. So I don't travel for tournaments a lot, so honestly, I'll explain a few tech choices I would probably change out, but for right now, we'll just go with this. I like Miraidon when I played Scarlet and Violet, or at least when we got the first reveal. I liked Miraidon more than I did Koraidon. And I guess maybe that my preference helps because Miraidon is a very solid deck. Cards that try to say your Vs don't have abilities, well, it doesn't affect Miraidon, and he's probably one of your best turn 1 cards just for the sake of the ability to search for anything. But I'll talk more about that when we discuss the deck in general. So let's go ahead and first start off with the part of the deck that isn't really, well, it's important, but we play enough. Yes, I do have different energies, but that's fine. I don't really know how to do deck profiles of Pokemon. I'm just doing what I feel. So we have here a total of, if I do my math correctly, which I did, 14 electric energies, which means since we play 4 of a certain card in the deck, we should actually be always hitting an energy. You can play more. I will be checking this build, or at least checking this build up a little bit more when a few cards come in the mail. So we may want to play more. We will actually go from 14 to 15. But yeah, you know, you want your energy for turn, energy to attach, you know, all that good jazz. Alright, let's go into the meat and potatoes of the deck. So we're going to start off with our first 3 cards, which are first 3 copies of Miraidon EX. I'm just going to put the pretty one in front. So 220 HP is pretty solid for an EX. Could be a little bit higher. I actually would have probably preferred maybe 230. Or at least 240 to make it out of the range of a lot of knockouts, even with the Bravery Charm, but it's fine. You know, he's going to be really good. So, why is Miraidon EX so good? Well, it's for the ability Tandem Unit. What does it do? So, once per turn, during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 basic electric Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Then shuffle the deck. You can put another Miraidon, you can put Mareeps, spoiler we're playing Mareep, you can put Raichu V, Raikou V, Flying Pikachu V. You have a lot of access to pretty much and Zapdos. You have access to a lot of the stuff. So I would say Miraidon EX is probably your best opening turn. If you open up with this, put it down to your basic, you're fine. The one Energy Retreat is fine, good as well. And of course you have his attack, Photon Blaster, which is for 220. But you can attack and requires 2 electric and 1 colorless, and during the next turn you can attack. But, of course, as everyone knows, you switch out and come back in. That effect is removed. And thanks to a certain stadium card we play, which I'm sure you all know what it is, and certain other cards we play, we're pretty much able to swing for 220 most times. And, yeah. I would consider getting 2 more, but for right now, the deck is fine as what I like. And to really just rarity bump Miraidons would just be to be a... pedantic and just to make a match. Next for our V lineup, we play 1 Flying Pikachu V, 2 Raichu V, and 2 Raikou V. So these are all utility. Raichu V will be your attacker, if not he's your attacker in most cases. But I'll explain one each at a time. So we'll start first with Raikou V. For its it's a ability which is fleet-footed. Once per turn while he's your active Pokemon, you can draw 1 card. is really good first turn because you need advantage, you need to get set up. You don't really need set up as hard to say Lost Box does. Lost Box, it's very dependent on whether or not you search your turns and all that. But we also don't play Battle VIP Pass. I know that could be something we could play, but I'm just not really the huge fan of the card. I played it in other decks, and I can see why it's good. I'm not trying to say it's not a good card. It's a very good card. It's very strong. I just don't like it in this deck. That's a personal preference. You know what I'm saying. And then Lightning Rondo for an electric energy and a colorless. Do 20 damage, and then add 20 damage for every Pokemon on the bench, yours and your opponent's. So 220 if you have full benched out. Plus Zapdos is 230. And if you have any weaknesses, it's pretty much an OHKO. Or if not, it's really destabilize something. So yeah, he's pretty good. Next, like I said, we're talking about this again, 2 Raichu V. So, Raichu V has a very good attack and fast charge for 1 electric energy. If you go first, you can use this attack on your first turn. Search your deck for a basic electric energy card and attach it to this Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. So, you attach 1, and then search 1. So you have 2 energy, which is good because his next attack requires 2 electric energy. And that is Dynamic Spark. So you may discard any amount of electric energy from your Pokemon. This attack does 60 damage for each card you discard this way. So I'm going to sound like casual here, because I don't know. I usually do it to Raichu. So when it says your Pokemon, I'm pretty sure it also can that include your bench. I'm not sure. Be respectful, guys. I have not played Pokemon in a while. The last time I played, I was playing the Lucario Melmetal Tag Team GX deck. So even that, I'm not exactly sure. So, but yeah, this is 60 damage, which is like 120 for both energies, and 180 if you have 3. So this can pretty much almost secure a knockout. And since 200 HP may not be that hard to get rid of, but it's really good. He's probably your main attacker, just because of how solid Raichu V is. It's a very solid card. I'm glad I'm playing it. If I would add anything else, I don't know. I think it's a good card. And our last card is Flying Pikachu V. So it has free retreat, which is the main reason we play it. And that's really about it. You're going to rarely ever use its attacks. Thundershock is nice to flip a coin, paralyze Pokemon. Flip a coin for Fly for 3 colorless energy, do 120, but if you flip tails, it does nothing. But if you do heads, you're immune to all effects from your opponent, from attacks done to your Pokemon, from your opponent's Pokemon. If you're really lucky, and this goes off multiple times against your opponent, this could probably leave some anger. Some angry. Ironically, he is weak to himself, so that's kind of hilarious. And now for utility cards. So first off, 1 copy of Squawkabilly EX for Squawk and Siege, which is just during your turn, during your first turn. So if you're going second, it is your first turn. You may discard a card from your hand, draw 6, and then you can't use more than 1 of his effects per turn, which I guess is the caveat to Shaman, if you remember Shaman EX from back in the day. And then you don't use his effect. But his effect is actually pretty good because you can use... So his other attack is Motivate for 20. You search for 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile and attach to 1 of your bench Pokemon. That's pretty solid. It's like an ability we'll get into later. But, again, I would say this is not a necessary card. I've won games where I haven't resolved them, and I've lost games where I haven't resolved them, but I've also won games where I have resolved them, and I've lost games where I have resolved them. It happens. Honestly, there are orders I never see at first turn, which is kind of sad. Luminion V for Luminous Sight. Look for when you play this card from your hand, search for a supporter. And then put your hand, then shuffle your deck. Tapu Lele GX, if you remember GXs. I know there's probably a lot of Pokemon fans, trainers watching this who have playing a while, so obviously they know that card, but let's be real, I'm just making sure that I'm keeping everyone in track and just making sure, because I understand there are newer fans or newer players playing, so yeah. We don't play any water energy, as you saw from our energy account, so we're never attacking with it. But it's too good not to play. Drapion V. Now, full disclosure, at my locals, we're barely getting our Pokemon team going up again. It really wasn't much on to begin with at the time. A person who was going to be in charge of it had to move away, so we weren't doing it. So, we started getting him back. With that being said, I am very mixed on Drapion V. Here's why. At my locals, there really isn't a lot of Fusion Strike, Single Strike, Rapid Strike Pokemon that are in our meta over there. So, he takes up a slot. If I feel we play more Pokemon competitively over there, and if I travel tournaments, he's probably really solid just for that matchup against UV Max or UV. Don't get me wrong, that's why I know he's good, but right now where our meta is, I don't know if he's the key. But I understand why he's good. So, I'll keep it. Wild Style for each of your opponent, for his attack costs 1 less for each of your opponent's Fusion, Single, and Rapid Strike Pokemon. So if your opponent has 4 on the field for like Mew VMAX, this thing can do free, and it does 190 plus 60 to the bench, as long as they don't have Manaphy. So again, he's really good. I'm not saying he's not good. Even if your opponent only has 1, you can attach 3 energy and then swing. You can still have good plays with him. 1 Manaphy. Wave Veil. Don't need to say anymore. Prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. This is really good. Against Lost Boxes, will shut out their Sableye, which can do 120 damage, but basically 12 damage kind of onto an opponent's Pokemon. They'll normally want to aim for your bench because it has lower HP. Having this, make sure they can't do that. You also can't snipe. It also means you can't be sniped by Drapion. So it's really good for that. 1 copy of Zapdos. Lightning Symbol does your basic electric Pokemon do, except himself or themselves, do 10 damage more. So your active Pokemon before applying damage to weakness, so it does 230. Then you apply damage and weakness. Yada yada yada. And then Electro Ball for 2 energy, electric, 1 colorless, 110. Solid. You're playing it because you want more damage. It's also, you could play Regieleki VMAX. I know it's what earlier Miraidon V decks or EX decks played. The problem was if that Regieleki VMAX got KO'd, that was 3 prizes, and you're already playing a lot of cards that give your opponent 2. So giving your opponent 3 can be kind of but it's as good as a 1 of. I would not play more than 1. You could play more than 1 if you really wanted to, if you really feel you need that extra damage. But 230 is already a really magic number, because that means you're in well range of knockouts from like anything. So if Miraidon hits for like 230, alright, then that means, say against Giratina VMAX or V-Star. Let's go for Isaac's deck, for example. Should I remember Isaac? Giratina V-Star, I believe, is 280 HP, which means no matter what, if I bring out my Raichu V and just detach 1 energy for his attack, it knocks out the V-Star. And if he hasn't got another one set up, that's pretty good just to get rid of resources. Next, we play 2 copies of Flaffy and 2 copies of Mareep. We only play the Mareeps because we want to get the Flaffy. What does the Flaffy do? Dynamotor. Once per turn during your turn. Once during your turn. I always say once per turn, but it's once during your turn. You may attach a basic electric energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. This means that you constantly have access to energy you need for retreating, for Raichu V, for Miraidon. You have a lot of energy. And thanks to a trainer card we play later, an item card, you're always filtering energy, you're always getting it back, and honestly, this is so good. It's a really good card, plus thanks to a lot of the trade options we have, we're doing so good. I like this line. I really do. I think 2-2 is fine. Now for the item cards. We play 4 copies of Electric Generator. Basically, Max Elixir, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and attach up to 2 basic electric energy to one of your benched electric Pokemon in any way you like. Shuffle the other cards to your deck. It means you can put 2 on 2, 2 onto 1, 1 on 2. You know, you get my point. It's really good. This is very, very good. I do like this card a lot. I can't say much more about how good a lot of this card is. It's very good for the deck. Opening up a few of these means that you're going to be set to go pretty quickly. 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Everyone knows what this card does. You discard 2 cards, any 2 cards in your hand, search for any Pokemon, and add it to your hand. You must be able to discard 2 cards from your hand. So you can't discard this and 1 and say, oh, I'm using Ultra Ball. No, you have to discard 2 cards besides this card. You need to have a total of 3. This is really good first turn because it can get you Squawkabilly, it can get you Lumineon V. If it gets you Lumineon V, it gets you a supporter. Pretty much in the late game, if you have this, but you haven't used your Lumineon V yet, consider Ultra Ball a supporter. Because you know you're going to get something. You're going to get Iono, Boss's Orders, or something like that. So this is why keeping an order of resources is really handy. Sorry that I hit something, but it's fine. 2 copies of Nest Ball. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it into your bench, then shuffle your deck. This will get you Miraidon V, or EX. This will get you a lot of your cards if you didn't open up with them already. Do note that this card, if you use this card to play Squawkabilly or Lumineon, you won't get their effects because they specifically say they have to be placed from your hand to the bench. But if you say you have a Nest Ball, 2 other cards, and an Ultra Ball, you can use the Nest Ball to get, say, a Mareep or a Miraidon EX, get 2 more cards, then Ultra Ball to get the Squawkabilly. And since you need to discard your hand, but you might have no card in hand, you can discard nothing to draw 6. You've extended place and maintained a large amount of value. Nest Ball is such a good card. These cards effectively do the same thing. We play 2 copies of Switch Card and 1 copy of Escape Rope. Both let us switch, and in most cases you are switching to your Flying Pikachu V just for the free retreat. This is how you get around, say, not being able to attack with certain cards, getting rid of certain cards you want to get rid of. And honestly, this card just helps being able to heal something if you're at like enough HP that a Sableye. I'm using Lost Box because I played against that the most. Sableye to knock something out, you can always just use this card to get rid of the damage and take you slightly out of range. Which is really good. And Escape Rope lets you snipe something if your opponent has no choice, or they can outplay it, but honestly this is just a switch. We play 2 Pokemon Tools. We play 1 copy of Forest Seal Stone and 1 copy of Bravery Charm. Bravery Charm, your basic Pokemon gets 50 more HP. This makes Raichu 250. This makes Pikachu V 240. It makes Miraidon EX 270 HP, which is really good. It can mean you don't get knocked out by a few things early on, I'll say for weakness, or it's Giratina V-Stars, either his Star Requiem or his attack that does 280, but you know, that's how it goes. And then for Seal Stone, you attach it and it gives any Pokemon the V-Star ability of Star Alchemy, and this is your V-Star ability, which we'll use in any case. So you use it, you search your deck for any card and add it to your hand. So you use your 1 V-Star power in the game. So you're going to search for any card, which means if you have this opening up, you can use it, I believe. Search for, say, something. So this card is really good in just making sure you have your resources that you need to be ready to knock out for the game. Like I said, it's also kind of like having access to any supporter or any item card, as long as you have it. Which, we'll get to how we get to it a lot of times. Sorry you can't see my hand. My other hand was moving something out of the way because it was starting to fall. Oh, you hear a noise in the background? There's a fan going on. 2 copies of Beach Court. This makes so your retreat cost of your basic Pokemon is 1 colorless less. You notice that a lot of our Pokemon have 1 retreat cost, so they have free retreat if we have this on the field. This does apply to your opponent as well. So just keep that in mind, but this will basically allow you to keep retreating for free. So if you go retreat Miraidon for free, after you use Photon Blaster, bring out Flying Pikachu V, bring in back Flying Pikachu V, bring out Miraidon, swing for 220. There you go. Really good. Alrighty then, now for supporters. The fun part. And we play 4 copies of Professor's Research. Everyone knows this card. It's so good. I'm going to again put the pretty one in front. And it is discard your hand, draw 7. This is really good when you need to reset or if you're loaded with something you don't need right now. And honestly, I prefer this card is really good. I would like to get 2 more artworks or the rest of her. But if anything, if I would really have to be honest, I would probably go 1 more of her and then 2 more of the dad. Because again, the story was pretty good for Scarlet and Violet. At least I think so. Three copies of Boss's Orders. I'm being extra and having 3 different. Personally, I think these are the best bosses. Well, Lysander not so much. Maybe Get Systems is better, but whatever. Definitely these 2 are top tier. You target one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, switch with their active. I say target, you don't target. I don't think Pokemon has targeting, but I just like saying it because, you know. You go for life. Lol. So you do that, you switch. So this basically you snipe out something that the Pokemon's weakened. Or if you bank on your opponent not having access to a card for an attack. So for example, again I'm going to use Lost Box because Isaac plays it. I can bring out their Giratina and just hope they don't have the stuff to get us set up. And that actually has worked. Or bring out their Greninja. Their Greninja, and they can't do... And he has sometimes can't have do anything because of that. Pretty good. 2 copies of Arven. So, Arven's really good. You search your deck for an item card and a Pokemon tool. Put them in your hand. You reveal them to your opponent, of course. So this can get you Electric Generator and Pokemon and Bravery Charm, Electric Generator, and 4 Seal Stone. 4 Seal Stone and Switch Card, 4 Seal Stone, and you get my point. It gives you every item card you need and one of your 2 Pokemon tools. This is really good. This pretty much nets you what you need in case you need 1 energy for a knockout or you need to get a switching item. As long as you're not out of them. By the way, Historian Scarlet and Violet, Sag. That dog actually made me cry. And then 2, Iono-chan. Iono. Each player shuffles their hand and puts it at the bottom of the deck. If either player put cards on the bottom of the deck, this way each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. So, kind of like Anna Roxanne, but since it goes to the bottom, you don't have a chance of redrawing those same cards. So, what can be funny is that sometimes this can actually screw your opponent over a little bit because if they had a hand ready to go, not only do they not get it because that's the bottom of the deck now, but if they were running low on resources, they don't get it anymore. So this is really good. Honestly, I've used it a few times to basically just know what my opponent has added to use it. So there are times that I've used it when my opponent has gone search for X cards, X cards, X cards, and end turn, and I'm like, okay, I can either try to knock out what they're trying to set up, or I can get rid of their setup now and keep myself kind of going in the game right now. It's all preference based what you feel. Or not preference based, but I feel it comes down to what do you prioritize. Do you prioritize setting up, getting rid of the setup, or getting rid of the Pokemon at the moment, depending especially on how the board state looks. I would say that's the biggest thing. Consider your board state, consider everything, consider resources before you play your supporters, since they're sometimes the most important card you play. And Judge. Same thing as Iono. Same principle. Shuffle your opponent. Each player shuffles their hand and draws 4 cards. I say it's the same as Iono because you're going to use the same principle. Lower your opponent's hand down, especially if they have acquired a lot of resources. I've done that a lot. It's very good for that reason. Like I said, it's going to come down to board state and resource management I know the Pokemon channel put up a video about resource management for the TCG. Watch it if you're still learning Pokemon or you're already a player who just needs to kind of understand that concept more. Not putting it down, because in every TCG resource management, at least that I've played, resource management is important, and sometimes people just don't value it enough. So yeah. So yeah, guys, this has been my Miraidon EX deck profile. Cards that I would add in, or at least swap out and change around. Definitely Flying Pikachu V Max. Radiant Greninja, because sometimes you do need that filtering. Temple of Sinnoh, just to help out. And Thornton, to get rid of cards in case you need to just, I don't know, get something off the bench. Like, get an EX off the bench so your opponent really can't snipe it later. Yeah, like for example, if you have an EX that's like really low HP and you know it's going to get sniped, you can always just send it away, get something else out, and it doesn't get knocked out, so pretty good. So yeah, this has been the deck profile. Again, let me know what you guys think down below. Always happy to hear your comments and suggestions. And keep playing Pokemon, guys. This has been Michael, the Golden State Kings, and I'll see y'all next time.